6:15, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe and read by Geetanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. An island-wide travel restriction will be imposed from tomorrow. No adverse effects reported from those who were vaccinated with the Sinopharm vaccine. The government requests the public to support to control the spread of COVID-19. The President says that encouragement to use organic fertilizer is to create a healthy future generation. News from overseas. WHO reviews Seychelles data after fully vaccinated gets COVID. Sports news. Rugby World Cup 2021 news. Postponed women's tournament confirmed for autumn 2022. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva said an island-wide travel restriction will be imposed daily between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. from today. This travel restriction will be implemented until the 31st of May. Only transport of essential food items and essential travel will be allowed during this period. However, the vaccination program in the Western Province will continue. State Minister of Production, Supply and Regulation of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana said a total of 50,493 persons have been vaccinated with the Sinopharm vaccine yesterday. Sri Lanka has vaccinated 71,203 individuals with the China-produced Sinopharm vaccine in total so far. He said no major adverse effects have been reported from those who were vaccinated with the particular vaccination. State Minister Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle has requested the public to stay at home and support the government to control the spread of COVID-19. She also said today that the vaccination program is being successfully implemented and that a new set of regulations has been issued for Sri Lankans and others who are returning from overseas. Police say public can travel for essential purposes from tomorrow till the 31st of May based only on the approved last digits of the ID numbers of the day. Accordingly, on odd dates of the calendar, people with the national ID number, driving license or passport ending with odd numbers can leave their homes, while those ending with even numbers can leave their homes on even dates. Police spokesman DIG Ajit Rohana said the ID system will not apply if a person is going to work. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that why the government is encouraging to use organic fertilizer is to create a healthy future generation. The government is prepared to purchase paddy exceeding the guaranteed price if there is a reduction of harvest due to the use of organic fertilizer. Therefore, the President said that the farmers should not be afraid in this regard. He said that the government is prepared to bear the necessary expenditure, enabling the people to buy their produce. The President expressed those views during a meeting with the members of the Presidential Task Force to establish a green Sri Lanka with sustainable solutions to climate change. 131,098 corona patients have been reported from the country so far. The epidemiology read said that 106,641 out of them have recovered and left the hospitals and treatment centers. 23,607 patients are undergoing treatment under medical supervision at hospitals. 850 COVID-related deaths have also been reported from the country. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Digital accounts can now be opened in 10 minutes. People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
A new World Bank Group study has found that a strikingly large percentage of workers and firms operate outside the line of sight of governments in emerging market and developing economies. It is a challenge that is likely to hold back the recovery in these economies unless governments adopt a comprehensive set of policies to address the drawbacks of the informal sector. The study is the first comprehensive bank analysis examining the extent of informality and its implications for an economic recovery that supports green, resilient and inclusive development in the long term. It states that the informal sector accounts for more than 70% of total employment and nearly one-third of GDP in emerging market and developing economies. That scale diminishes these countries' ability to mobilize the fiscal resources needed to bolster the economy in a crisis, to conduct effective macroeconomic policies, and to build human capital for long-term development. The Government Medical Officers Association has requested the government to implement all island movement restrictions to achieve 80% to 90% physical distancing to ensure optimal control of the pandemic during the upcoming long weekend. The GMOA, in a letter to the President, has appreciated the leadership given by him in mitigating the current COVID pandemic in the country. The GMOA has asked the following areas to be closely evaluated to ensure a sustainable control of the pandemic. They are disease surveillance with properly executed testing strategy, risk communication using real-time data, and movement restrictions, including limitation of inter-provincial movements. That was local news.
Debit card, mobile and internet banking along with cardless cash facilities can now be opened in just 10 minutes with no form filling with People's Bank Digital Banking.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. SLBC, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. SLBC, the Vidya Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by SLBC Vidya Mahatmya.
As per the new health guidelines, all overseas arrivals, including Sri Lankans, should undergo a mandatory quarantine period of 14 days at a quarantine facility. Director General of Health Services Dr. Asela Gunawardena stated this measure will be in place irrespective of their COVID-19 vaccination status. Sri Lankan seafarers or sea marshals returning home will also be subjected to the aforementioned mandatory quarantine period. Local and foreign staff members of diplomatic missions and their families too should undergo the 14-day quarantine. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by SLBC Vidya Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from SLBC.
In Watchlight this evening, according to Airport and Aviation Services Limited, airline passengers or transit passengers from Sri Lanka will not be permitted to leave for Dubai, Kuwait, Italy, Maldives and Singapore until the 31st of May. This was announced today by its Vice Chairman, Rajivasiri Suryarachi. That was Watchlight. And moving on to world news, the headlines: WHO reviews Seychelles data after fully vaccinated gets COVID. The UN fears full-scale war as violence escalates in Gaza. Trial ordered for Airbus and airline over 2009 disaster which killed 228 on board. The World Health Organization said it was reviewing coronavirus data from Seychelles after the country's health ministry said more than a third of people who tested positive for COVID-19 in the past week had been fully vaccinated. Both the ministry and the WHO stressed yesterday that the majority of those who tested positive had not been vaccinated or had only received one dose, that no one who had died had been fully vaccinated, and that nearly all of those needing treatment for severe or critical cases were not vaccinated. The deadly exchange of fire between Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strip and the Israeli militants has escalated significantly, with the UN fearing a full-scale war. More than 1,000 rockets have now been fired by Palestinian militants over 38 hours, Israel said, most at Tel Aviv. Israel has carried out hundreds of airstrikes, destroying 2 tower blocks in Gaza on Tuesday and Wednesday. At least 43 Palestinians and 6 Israelis have been killed since Monday. That includes 13 Palestinian children caught up in the conflict. 12 years after an Air France Airbus plane crashed into the Atlantic, killing 228 people, a court has ruled that the airline and manufacturer should go on trial for involuntary manslaughter. The Paris court overturned a ruling 2 years ago and backed recommendations from prosecutors. Flight AF447 from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil to Paris went down on 1st of June 2009, killing everyone on board. Investigators found the pilots had lost control when airspeed sensors froze. Both the airline and the manufacturer plan to appeal. Back to the headlines of the world news. WHO reviews Seychelles data after fully vaccinated gets COVID. The UN fears full-scale war as violence escalates in Gaza. Trial ordered for Airbus and airline over 2009 disaster, which killed 228 on board. On to development news. The Cabinet has approved a proposal to prepare a new master plan for the Muthurajavela wetland area and to consequently declare it as an international Ramsar wetland. The Cabinet on Monday approved the proposal containing several measures targeted at conserving the Muthurajavela wetland area, which has been under threat due to a multitude of issues. That was development news.
Sports News is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neve.
In sports news, it's rugby. The Women's 2021 Rugby World Cup has been rescheduled between the 8th of October and the 12th of November 2022. World Rugby has extended the tournament to 43 days, bringing the minimum 5-day rest period in line with the Men's World Cup. The 43-day window includes travel to and from New Zealand and a minimum of 5 days rest before the first games. The original schedule had been 6 games per match day, but there will now be 3 on Saturdays and Sundays. Boxing news. Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury's world heavyweight title fight will take place in Saudi Arabia. A specific venue and date is yet to be confirmed for the all-British bout, which will see the winner become the undisputed heavyweight champion. Joshua's promoter suggested it could take place on either 7th of August or 14th of August. Football news. Sporting Lisbon were crowned Portuguese champions for the first time since 2002 after a 1-0 win over Boavista. Paulinho scored the only goal of the game for the hosts, who remain unbeaten and are 8 points clear of Porto with 2 games to play. The result also marks the end of Porto and Benfica's 19-year hold on the Primeira Liga title. That was sports news.
My wife always sets a full lunch table, even if it's just the 2 of us. She always expects people to drop by, like maybe the army.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neve.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Sampath Bank recently entered into a strategic partnership with SLBC Bank, whereby customers of SLBC can gain access to Sampath Bank branch networks, cash and check deposit kiosks. This partnership goes on to showcase how the convergence of a licensed specialized bank and a licensed commercial bank can create synergies in line with the central bank and the government's vision of consolidation within the banking industry. That was Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Senior representatives of the delegation, German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka said, although trade relations between Sri Lanka and Germany have grown deeper over the years, there still prevail untapped markets, especially in the organic products segment. German Industry and Commerce Chief Delegate Andres Hergenrother noted that while Germany has been Sri Lanka's third largest export market for many consecutive years, there remains room for further improvement. That was economic news.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue in partnership with the Ministry of Education introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The weather report, the Met Department says, showery condition over the southwestern and northwestern part of the island is likely to enhance to some extent during the next few days. Showers or thundershowers at times will occur in the Sabaragamuwa, central, western and in the northwestern provinces in the Galle and Mathura districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the eastern and Uva provinces and in the Hambantota district during the evening or at night. Heavy falls above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the western Sabaragamuwa and in the central provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Wind speed can increase up to 50 kilometers per hour at times in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota districts. That was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue in partnership with the Ministry of Education introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Back to the headlines of this news broadcast. An island-wide travel restriction will be imposed from tomorrow. No adverse effects reported from those who were vaccinated with the Sinopharm vaccine. The government requests the public to support to control the spread of COVID-19. The President says that encouragement to use organic fertilizer is to create a healthy future generation. News from overseas, WHO reviews Seychelles data after fully vaccinated gets COVID. Sports news, Rugby World Cup 2021 news, postponed women's tournament confirmed for autumn 2022. With that, we conclude this news broadcast. And back to Niranjan. I can see Victor as well. Back to Niranjan and Victor.